That was the first time I thought, okay, I should go to a different country, I have to begin a new life.
I know of some of my friends who kind of got pink slips, some actually were not accepted.
My name is Jordan Camara. I came here in 2005 as a dependent of a worker visa. I left behind my mother, my grandparents, and most of my cousins with whom I was really close. They held a party, a going away party for me, which you can see in this picture. You know, it was a really emotional time because I knew that I wouldn't be seeing them for a very long time. In fact, I haven't seen my mother in over 6 years. The reason I came here was because my mother couldn't afford to put me through school, and I had already been out of school for 2 years. So I turned to my dad in order to, get the support that I needed to go to college and earn my degree.
As the primary designated school official for Westminster College, I process the paperwork for F1 visas for students entering the country. They'll start with the process that they would apply for admission to Westminster College, and then after the decision committee approves the application, we will go back and inform the student that he or she has been accepted. So at that point in time, a $200 reservation deposit is required, and that would hold that student's spot in our class. Once we receive the $200 deposit, then I go in and start the process for the visa. So I would log into the CVIS system and orchestrate the paperwork. And then after I finish the paperwork, I will send a copy of it to the student in his or her country. There's also a fee that a student would need to pay. Currently it's $200. It's an I-901 fee. So once the student receives the I-20 at his country, then the student would log into the database and then pay the $200 reservation fee. And then once they get a confirmation, the student then can go apply for his visa at the consulate or the embassy.
A lot of this paperwork that the immigrant must keep track of, there's a lot actually. From start to finish, I've had to keep track of all my paperwork, starting from the passport, which I had applied for when I was in the Philippines. I've already actually renewed my passport 2 times already. And this is important because you need to, as long as you're out of your native country, you need to have an active passport. It doesn't matter where you are, you need to have this as an immigrant. The second most important card that you need to apply for once you enter the United States is the driver's license. This basically serves as both a state identification and a driver's license. Otherwise, if you did not have this, you would have to carry your passport along with you wherever you go. Also, another thing about the driver's license is they will only approve a driver's license for as long as your status is legal. So for example, if your driver's license is about to expire and you go in to renew for a 4-year license, but you're only eligible to stay in the United States for 4 months, they will only supply you a driver's license for that 4 months and nothing longer. One of the problems with the system is that if you are changing your status, but your previous status has already expired, then you will not be able to renew your driver's license. For example, when I was applying for my OPT, I did not have a license because my F1 student visa ran out. So I've had to have my wife, Tiffany, drive me around to and from work every day. Every time you send an application in, the United States government sends you back a notice of action, which you need to keep track of. This is basically a receipt that they have received or either approved your application. Whenever I'm waiting for my status change letters or my EAD card, I always just constantly keep checking the mail, hoping that today is going to be the day that I receive my documents.
I can actually correspond with the Department of Homeland Security via phone. That is the harder avenue because you'll wait on hold forever. But you can go online. I can log into CVIS to try to see if there's something on the student's file that's taking a while, or if there's something that isn't correct. But unfortunately, sometimes the processing is really slow. I'm not sure how many people work at the Department of Homeland Security, but it just does seem that when you're processing something, it does take a long time. Or if a student wants to apply for an extension, I had a student apply and it took 6 months before they could get an extension, which I was getting a little concerned. Was there some reason that the paperwork had not been processed? So kind of on my end, I have to just sit and wait until everything is processed, and it can go a little slowly, which can be frustrating for me and for the international student.
I graduated in May of 2010 with a bachelor's degree in computer science, and one of the biggest questions that was facing me towards the end of my school term was how I was going to be able to keep staying in the country. The main option that was facing me was entering the workforce on a work visa, which is an H1. But the problem with that is they usually look for people with certain qualifications and skill sets and experience. And I didn't have that at the time. And so it was a really daunting challenge to be able to find somebody who, like a company, who would be able and willing to sponsor my work visa.
Or if you come over here on an F1 or an H4, if the company is agreeing to sponsor for H1B, then it would sponsor for H1B and you get the work permit. But the process is from April to, as I said, it's from April to October. So if company has to first look into your look into your experience and see if it is good enough for them to go ahead, and then consult a lawyer or attorney, and then apply for the visa with some certain documentations which is required before April, and then apply for that for the cycle. Say now 2011 cycle starts from April to October, so they have to apply before April, and then there are some limitations of 65,000 seats for immigrants, so they have to apply before that, before everything takes off. And then there is a lottery system which goes into it. Your application has to first get selected. Once that is done, it gets approved, and once you have the approval, you can start working from October 1st. Before that, if you are back home, then you cannot come before you get your before you start working. That is from October 1st. You cannot travel to United States. So you can travel only after October 1st, or you can start working only after October 1st.
So towards the end there, I researched on other possible avenues to be able to stay in the country, and that's when I found OPT, which is optional practical training. This allows any student on an F1 visa to be able to enter a training phase where employers can hire the student.
When a student comes in and actually completes an F1 visa, they are to some degree signing or implementing a contract that they're going to come to the United States, get an education, and then go home. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. That's what they should be doing, but the government does recognize that there could be some extenuating circumstances or a reason why a student would want to stay on. Number one, a student could stay on and pursue a master's degree. So at that point in time, once they would graduate from Westminster, they can come to me and, say I want to apply to a master's program, and then I will go in. Once they get accepted to that school, the DSO at that school would contact me and say, I need you to submit so-and-so's record. So once the student is for sure they're going there, I would kind of send the records to the new school, and then the new DSO would be responsible for maintaining the records and keeping an eye on the student, so to speak. So that is one option. Another option is for students to do like an internship. There's an optional practical experience, and then there's something called a curricular practical experience, a CPT and an OPT. So that's pretty much an internship where a student can go and work at a company or a school, and they are authorized 1 year to do that. And then for some professions like computers, engineering, there are some degrees where a student can actually work and get their OPT extended.
When I found out about OPT, it was 3 months before my student visa was about to expire, so I had to scramble to send my papers in. I had to contact Dawn Chapman, and she from the get-go was very understanding of my situation and helped me through.
I would say the best advice is to do everything in a timely manner. If you want to apply, start looking into options. Get your application in. Secure your appointment at the consulate or the embassy. Once you're accepted at that school and you are a student, if you want to apply for a job off campus, that requires paperwork. You have to petition the government, provide, is it a hardship, or is this a job that is relevant to your current interest or your current major? You need to do it ahead of time, because if you decide, okay, I want to do this, you could be waiting 6 or 7 months, and then you're kind of stuck. You can't accept the position because you're waiting on your paperwork. Like I said, if you were trying to do an extension, you want to stay longer, you're going to pursue a master's program, it's just always wise to apply before you need to allow yourself plenty of time. I'm talking maybe like 4 or 5 months, because again, the processing is very slow.
My mom had been denied her visa once because she doesn't have too many strong ties here in the Philippines. To be able to get a non-immigrant visa, you need to prove to the United States consulate that you have strong ties and you have a strong reason to go back to the Philippines after your term of stay is done in the United States. Basically, you go through an interview, and at the end of the interview, they make you wait. After that period is over, you get called to a window, and that's when you find out when you're approved or denied. They give you a sticker if you're approved, and another color of sticker if you're denied. So they don't really offer much of any reason as to why you were denied in the first place. There are people out there, countless people, that probably had good reason to be here in the United States, probably needed to be here in the United States, got denied, and have no way of knowing why they were denied or how to fix that. The steps to becoming a citizen for me is it's a long road ahead. Basically, I'm on OPT right now, optional practical training, which expires in December of next year, 2012. After that, I'm going to have to apply for a green card, which takes 3 months to complete. After which I have to be on the green card for at least 5 years before I can even apply for the citizenship test. And I have to be within the normal bounds of the law. Otherwise, I can be deported, basically. Before I graduated, I also met and fell in love with Tiffany, and we later got married about a year after we had started dating. To process the marriage visa, there's a lot of paperwork involved. Not only do we need proof that we are able to support ourselves, but we both need to send in applications on both our sides, just so that the applicant, the immigrant, can't say that they have a partner when they actually don't. So this eliminates some form of